So Deborah, I want to first of all thank you for coming in and doing this interview. And then I'd like you to introduce yourself. Who are you? What's your relationship to dementia? And why might you come here and help us out?
Well, I unfortunately have recently been diagnosed with dementia, Alzheimer's.
Okay.
And it was a bit of a surprise
Okay.
because it doesn't run in my family.
Spontaneous.
Spontaneous.
Not the spontaneous you want.
No,
might
no,
I
I
add.
was
Like,
rather
how
hoping
exciting.
for have a party.
Yeah.
That would be a spontaneous fun
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, we know what's wrong and we can fix it. Kind of spontaneous.
Right,
Yeah.
that would also be okay.
Yeah.
And when they were going through all of the testing for me, honestly, I thought I was highly, highly stressed, and that that's what it was.
That's what it was.
And I just wanted somebody to tell me, it'll be okay, you're just highly stressed, give yourself some breathing room, and life will go on. It'll be
and you're going to go
fine.
back to baseline,
And
and everything will be fine.
and you'll be good.
So you were highly stressed. Something caused that level of stress that was pretty significant then, I would suspect.
Yes, I had gone from, my husband had a number of sort of little health crises, and each time he had a health crisis, it was like, okay, zoom, 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 oh, we've solved it, it's good. All right, relax. Another one, zoom, zoom, zoom. Okay, but this one was bigger. He had a dissected aortic aneurysm.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a real fun one.
Ooh.
And but he's, like the Energizer Bunny, he
Came back.
took a licking and he kept on ticking. And it was like, oh wow, right. So that was sort of if something happened, I stopped getting because he was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then he had a stroke.
Oh.
Now,
Oops.
he's on all this blood thinner stuff. I figured, how did you have a stroke?
Wait. We were doing everything we were supposed to do to not have this happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And the neurologist was funny. He goes, I've recently read that, Japanese and Chinese often, if they're going to have a stroke, they have a hemorrhagic stroke. And I was like, yes. And that's just what we didn't need because he's on all that blood thinner. So if he'd not been on the blood thinners, he probably would have been able to recover. As it was, it took him 18 months, and he really gave it a good shot. He was quite the fighter. And
so were you.
And
so were you.
Okay, yeah, so was I.
And so were you.
And then he succumbed, and
Ouch.
it was just, but no, you're not supposed to die.
Wait. We overcame these others.
We've overcome so
18
many
months, come on.
obstacles.
Yeah.
You lasted 18 months. What are you thinking? Dying.
Yeah.
But,
So
dying is dying, and so that happened.
there's a lot of grief.
Yeah, so there's a lot of grief.
Yeah.
And
And it was just the two of you, or you have other people in your life
I have
too?
an adult son who has autism. And
Fairly profound autism or minimal
no, that would be
autism?
easy.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry
Yeah.
to say that, but
More profound, you know where you're at. You know
you know
there
where
are
you
lots
are.
of support structures.
yes, and there are people who are like falling over themselves to help.
Yeah.
And but he's very high
High
functioning.
functioning.
And people are like, he's fine. You don't need help. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I
And
need
so
help.
does he. Yeah, for support.
Right.
To get the right
Right.
level of support. So he stays in a good place
Right.
and doesn't have this way, that way.
Right.
And then you're trying to keep things on the track.
Right. And even if I didn't have my fun diagnoses,
Trying to help
I
you.
still have a expiration date.
Yeah.
It's just been moved up now. But my old expiration date, would be way before his
Yeah,
expiration
still.
date.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find some place for him originally.
Yeah. So let me just recap here for a woman who is also starting to experience some changes and you realized some things were happening for you.
Right.
And you at the time were hoping it's just stress, all the stressors and all the changes and all the massive shifts.
Right.
And trying to manage everything.
Right.
And then come to find out, oh, I just wish that was all it was, because that's resolvable. But on top of all of that, I now have something that is changing me that I can't stop,
Correct.
but I can make choices about.
Correct.
But the choices I want to make are sort of bounded by these other things that have happened and are happening for me.
Correct.
Because you have an adult son who needs not only support now, but as things move forward, you'll need to help him get in spaces and places that will help him past the end date when you can help him.
Correct.
For whether it's the Alzheimer's or whether it's life itself that is over. How is your mood, would you say? Because that's often, when people first find out they have Alzheimer's, one of the very common phenomena, if you don't have all these other responsibilities, is I want to go in my cave, and I want to hide, and I want to hibernate for a while.
And I probably have that, but it comes and goes.
Okay.
I don't stay in the cave because I've always been, a cup half full.
Wow, okay.
Kind of a gal, and so it's like, all right, this is not a happy thing.
This is what it is.
It is what it is. So what can I do
What's
to
next?
make it
Tolerable, durable.
yeah, tolerable?
How do I move it forward?
How do I move it
How
forward?
do I not give up? How do I keep going?
Right.
How do I build my support structure
Right.
so you can do what you need to do to live decently and well, and you also have this sidebar of trying to figure this out. How well does your son accept support and assistance, and how hard is that as a sidebar?
He realizes that he needs
A game
a
plan.
level of support, and he's more easily accepting of it if he knows the people.
Okay, so familiarity with people, friendly people, people who get him and are going to be forgiving if he screws up and says or does something that might otherwise offend somebody.
Right, right.
And that are it's functional for him. It makes sense to him.
Yes.
So how successful have you been able to be so far at starting to find that kind of support?
Perhaps not as successful as each time that I've made inroads. But I had made a really good, in my opinion, inroad before my diagnosis, and then it fell apart, and I was devastated.
Yeah.
He was not so much. He's like, well,
It just didn't work out, huh?
it just didn't work out, you know, and at the time my mother was still alive, and she was like, well, see, you'll just find something else.
Oh.
Because she didn't want him to go there
Yeah.
at all.
Huh.
And-
Now, wait a minute. I just heard another bomb drop.
Oh, yeah, Mom just died.
Wow.
Unexpected. Yes, she was very old, but it was
Well.
unexpected. It was not.
If we were not doing this interview right now, I would be over offering you a hug. I've got to tell you.
Yeah, no, my life has been a little hectic lately.
Wow. You get 10 gold stars.
See, that's why I thought it was
endurance.
stress.
It's fair. You should. Well, you do have
and then neurology said, "Oh, we don't have an RPR test on you," and I was like,
Okay.
Do it.
Let's get
Oh,
one
that'd
of
be
those. That'd be
great.
great, because then that'll be, rule that out. And
Oh
then
no, it will be positive, and that will be my reason. I told her later, I said, you know, I bet you don't have very many people hoping they have syphilis, do you? And she goes, no, I
No,
don't."
not
I said,
really.
but you would fix me. You would fix
Fixable, then we
me.
got fixable.
I would be fixed.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that, you know, you hadn't had sex in forever didn't even matter, but.
Well, you can always explain these things if you work hard enough at it.
Well, that's true. I mean,
Yeah.
wasn't there
You
a
are
towel
a glass
thing?
half full. There's spit in the bottom of your glass, and you're still thinking it's half full.
I do. I do.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
I do have my moments where I'm
Right.
like,
Well,
that cup is empty.
well, I've got to tell you, if there was anybody who would do fairly decently living with Alzheimer's or dementia, it's going to be somebody like you, who figures out, okay, it is what it is. I don't like it, but I have it. What do I do now? And your best case scenario. I mean,
Oh, good.
I mean, that's the good part. And I think you're already taking on some of the things that you know help you. Looking around for resources, being aware who in this neighborhood, in this community, who might be somebody that could be there for me so I can be there for my husband. Oh, wait, no, I don't need to do that anymore. Not for my mom anymore, for my son. So you've had so many changes. I think a little grace period.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
And I think that's really fair. I know the desire to make sure your son's well supported is really important, but figuring out how you're doing for a little bit might be worth the focus and energy. And I'm just going to put it out there.
And I can't disagree. However,
You can't take the other off your plate.
I can't go, oh, well, we'll just think about you tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to happen. But I do wonder what really giving yourself a chance to focus on where are your strengths, who around you could be supportive to you, so you know you're not alone. Because it's getting lonely.
Yes.
And it's important. You've always had support, and you've been support, but you've been in community, whether it's family, community, or otherwise. And so creating this new family for yourself sounds like it's sort of where you're at. Because trying to support your son alone is going to be
Yeah.
not the
No.
answer. You get that.
No, for sure.
Yeah, so finding that. So what do you still love about living right now?
Well, you know, when you have like a day like today and the sun is out and
Yeah.
you know, you can kind of minimize the wind part, but
Yeah.
it's really pretty and
And there are beautiful things
and
to
there's
see.
beautiful things to see.
And you have mobility.
And I'm quite mobile. So, in
And
fact, I did just get a shot in my knee to continue to be mobile.
Yeah, so you have some knee pain that you know you have to manage so that you can stay mobile. And you have humor.
Humor, I think, is one of the more important things to have, because if you can't laugh at it, you will just cry. And you know,
Yeah.
I am so not a pretty crier.
Yeah. Well, it's not one of
So-
my better looks either. I mean, some people look great crying. It's
Yeah.
never been one of my skill sets.
Yeah.
How about moments of joy for you? Obviously, outdoors is big. Sunshine is big.
Yes.
Animals, music.
Yeah. Animals. I have cats, and they continue to amuse me and bring me joy. So.
Friends?
It's friends.
It's
right,
been hard because
friends right now have been a little more challenging.
sparse.
And yeah, I didn't realize when I retired that everybody who's like, oh yeah, we'll keep in touch, and I knew that really wouldn't happen. But I really thought that, you know, when I reached out and said, hey, you know, come on, I'll bring lunch to you. You don't have to go
Yeah.
anywhere. But
Hasn't panned out.
It has not panned out.
So it's time to make new family.
Yeah, so I'm trying to, I'm working on making new, and I've been going, I've joined exercise classes, and I've made some acquaintances at the classes.
Have you done any support groups for people living with?
No,
Are you much of an online person, or are you more in person?
I'm more in person,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I haven't, I guess it just hadn't occurred to me to even reach out and see, were there any
Support groups
support
for
groups?
people who are living with various forms of dementia.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah, because it's very different than it was 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's changing dramatically.
Everything is changing dramatically in the last 10 years. So
Yeah. Now, at any point, were you interested in clinical studies, or you?
actually, yeah, I was, and I
Now, how long ago did you get your diagnosis? I guess I should ask that. I never even checked.
a year ago, January.
1 year.
1
Okay.
year.
Yeah. And where
It
did they
took me
say?
2 years to get it.
Yeah. They kept trying to.
Oh, it's not
Was
this.
it this?
It's not
and
this.
yeah,
Let's
ruling
do
this
this
out.
test.
Let's rule
Let's
that
do
out.
this
And
test.
dementia was not on their radar at first. Yeah. So a year out from hearing the diagnosis and sort of wrapping your head around that, and then worrying about your son. And when did your husband pass?
Oh, he passed a couple of years ago.
2 years ago.
So
And your mother passed?
October. Like real recent.
Real recently.
She's
yeah.
the most.
That's most recent loss. Yeah. So have you been to any grief counseling?
Oh, no.
Interesting.
Again, it did that.
Would never. Yeah.
It would never have
Have
occurred to me.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like just us talking has created some different kinds of potentials. And that's sort of that place where sometimes people who are starting to live with dementia and trying to figure out living with dementia, you sort of get caught in your own loop, and you do what you know how to do, and you try to stay as positive as you can, but without the right outward support structures, and they're not always offered in a way that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, thank you. I've got to say thank you for stepping forward and coming to this
Oh no.
interaction.
You know, I appreciate being asked to
Yeah.
participate.
Well, without people like you participating, everybody has a picture in their mind of what dementia is.
Yes.
And I'm sure you have a picture in your mind of what dementia is. And then when you look in the mirror,
That's not it.
that's not it. And that's really important for us all to hear and see. You are you, and you're still you. You were the day before you got the diagnosis. You're still you the day after, a year after. You're still you. So who are you now? That's changing, but you are still this amazing woman who has taken unbelievable steps to stay well and to stay fit and to deal with things that many people would not have been able to deal with and move forward. And you do it. So a little bit of pat on your back. A little bit.
Well, when I went to your website and I was looking at some of the videos and the little clips that you had done, number one, you're quite amazing. I knew nothing about you, and I was like, oh my stars, would you look at all this stuff? I said, this is so much more positive.
Yeah.
You need to look at this.
And it's so much more real. And you're still standing. You're still standing. So thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.